Welcome everyone. Today's session, of course, is Yin Yoga, as I announced earlier. And today we're going to do a program which was requested by two or three of you. One specifically, an old client of mine, Ulrika. Thank you very much for your comment and request. And so this is really dedicated to how many years we've known each other. So what I'd like to do is to start as usual by taking some simple and gentle relaxation. So making sure that you're sitting comfortably. As I've said many times before, we can place a cushion onto the base of the spine here, which also helps the lower back to relax. You can sit into the pelvis comfortably, and then once we practice this a few times, the body will get used to it and we will be able to do the same thing but without the cushion. But at the moment, please use it if you need to. Resting the hands gently on the knees. Today we're going to take the first of the mudra positions, thumb and first finger together, the tops of both on both sides, and just rest the hands gently on the knees. And when you are ready, closing the eyes. We're going to start today with some deep, conscious breathing. So I'd like you to breathe in through the nose and just hold just for 1 or 2 seconds, and then exhale through the mouth. Inhaling through the nose. Just hold for a couple of seconds and exhale through the mouth. We'll just continue this just for a short while. Just let go of any responsibility of keeping an eye on the time. I will do that for you. In through the nose, hold, and exhale through the mouth. Good. Now I'd like you to release all control from the breath and just watch as your body breathes completely by itself. Becoming conscious, even if the eyes are closed, of everything that surrounds you. Maybe it's a space that you're used to sitting in. Maybe you're on a balcony or the beach. Maybe you're sitting at home or at a friend's house. Just being conscious of the space that you are in. You are sitting in the center of this space. And now coming up to your mind. And again, as last time, looking beyond your thoughts. We are so used to focusing on what is going through our head that we forget to actually look at the freedom within the mind. It is your space, and just the simple understanding that you can expand this space, until the thoughts almost become insignificant, is something that was new to me the first time I heard that from my teacher. And now understanding that you are the center point of this space, the space of your mind. It is a place we can sit peacefully, without judgment, in complete compassion, love, awareness, consciousness. It is a place that we can always return to whenever we wish. I don't pretend to understand what the soul is, but this to me feels like the place of my soul. My soul makes no judgment right or wrong. It is simply watching. I'd like you to encourage you to do the same. Simply watch. And then slowly and gently opening your eyes. Welcome. I find it very inspiring that this channel has just been open for a very, very short time, and already there are 85 people. That is amazing to me. I am so grateful, really. So again, this session, this class, dedicated to Ulrika. And we're going to start on the knees at the back of the mat. Good. So gently sitting on the feet, if that is possible. A lot of people find that they have stiffness in the knees, especially in the beginning, or even the ankles. So of course, as I said a few times before, we can use a cushion under the ankles, or even a cushion under the ankles, and also one between the legs. Or we can simply take a long cushion, which I recommend for those of you that are going to practice Yin Yoga many times, to have a cushion that we can just pull between the legs and sit on this. And of course we can build this up to a height where the knees are actually comfortable. And that's really what this is all about. It's becoming as comfortable as you can possibly be for the entire time of the lesson. And these lessons will be different lengths. Today the lesson is 75 minutes, including a meditation and relaxation. So finding a comfortable position where you can sit without discomfort. And then rest the hands gently on the knees. Relax your shoulders and close your eyes. I want you to become aware of how the floor or the earth beneath you is supporting you. It is easy to forget that this energy, this caring, is always there. It started the moment you were born and will continue to do so until you do not exist. And it does this without questioning who you are, or what you are doing, or why you are here. It simply does it because you are here. So focusing now on the lower back, and just relax the lower back just a little bit more. So we're not trying to sit up here. You imagine that the lower back is sort of just a little bit rounding itself, and then rounding in the center of the back, and then the upper back as well. The arms are heavy from the shoulders to your elbows, and I want you to be conscious of the weight of your hands on your legs. For those of you relatively new to Yin Yoga, we stay usually in position something between 3 and 5 minutes, and sometimes a little shorter if it's just a position of rest between other positions. So I'll do my best to just help you understand this, and especially as this is the beginning of the term for most of you. The positions generally are around 3 minutes, and some of them are now extended to 5 minutes. Understanding that in my classes, there is no such thing as having to sit still or suffering a position because you think it might be good for you. I want to encourage you to do exactly the opposite. If something's really uncomfortable, move, change it, and watch, and then slowly we come to doing the positions. There is no rush, and there is no time frame. I have said many times before, and you're going to hear me repeat this until I'm almost blue in the face. But if you are doing 100% of what you can do, you are doing 100% yoga. We then gently open the eyes. I'm going to move the cushion out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to move both knees to the sides of the mat. And at the moment I'd like to encourage you to have the toes together at the back of the mat. So of course eventually we can do this with the legs straight back from the knees, but generally this is a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning, so just to help, having the toes together. Place both hands on the mat just in front of your knees, and today we're just going to walk forward until we can get the elbows onto the mat. Allow your stomach to sit down between the upper legs. And then gently bringing the forehead down to the mat so that the forehead and nose rest gently on the mat. And also having a conscious awareness that your buttocks and your heels are together. Again, here we can use the long cushion, bolster, if we want to lie down onto that, bring the forehead to that, if this helps. And again, we can build this position up with cushions. So again, making everything as comfortable as possible. I'll let you into a little secret. When I started doing this practice of Yin Yoga, I did it on my own in a room where nobody could see me, because it felt somehow that I was cheating. I started my yoga journey, if you want to call it that, with Ashtanga yoga. It's very physical for those of you who don't know this. And really completely the wrong end of the scale. When I started doing yoga, I was very, very physically handicapped. And today I'm a yoga teacher. So another thing I say quite often is that anything is possible as long as you take the time to allow the body and the mind to adjust. So this position is called melting heart, I want you to relax the upper back, the chest, the stomach again between the upper legs. You have a slight stretch into the groin. Sometimes we can feel some stiffness in the hips. And as we are breathing, you'll notice the more we watch, the more that the body just relaxes just because we're breathing. So for myself right now, I can feel that the neck is a little bit stiffer than when I started doing the position. So I lift the head, lengthen the neck, relax my shoulders, and then return the forehead to the mat. So constantly I'm looking around the body and within the mind to what I'm actually experiencing. This yoga is for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're as stiff as a plank or as flexible as a rubber band. This experience will be unique to you. And that is what this is about. It is not about doing a perfect position that we see in a book or something that we see on YouTube or anywhere else. It is about exactly allowing everything that you can do. Good. Now I'm going to bring my hands back to my knees. And we're just going to gently come up with the upper body. You can use your arms if you wish. And we're just going to come up and bring the knees together in the center. So I'd like you to now sit to one side and straighten your knees. If the knees feel a little bit stiff, we can just bounce them up and down. Just allowing the circulation of the blood to come back. Good. So we're going to continue today into butterfly position. And for a lot of you, it would be good to start with the feet maybe just that little bit further away from you. Eventually we'll have the feet close into the groin, about 10 centimeters away, and the knees will be on the mat. But I remember very clearly when I started doing this position that my feet were quite a far away and my knees were very high up, approximately like this. And even this was very, very uncomfortable. So I would like to encourage you, if you have any stiffness, is to place some cushion or cushioning under the legs so that you feel this support and that you can actually relax into the position. Because basically we're just going to allow the body to fall forward while we're in this position. So again, this will be unique to you, and where you have the feet will be up to you. What I want to point out for you is that pressuring the body to do something that the body does not like is not doing yoga. That is having a war with your ego. That in itself is relatively amusing to me. So finding a comfortable position, resting the hands on your feet and allowing your spine to round. In Yin Yoga, we're not trying to lengthen the spine or from the base of the spine to the top of the head. There is a time and a place for that. And in Yin Yoga, we can leave that outside the room. Much like my teacher once said to me, that you can leave your ego outside the room and take it with you when you go home. I have no need for it, and nor do you. So this is a very comical way of thinking about how we pressurize ourselves, and I want you to just let go of all that. In fact, let go of anything that is not complementary to exactly how you feel in this precise moment in time. Allow the neck to relax. The chin comes down towards the chest. Relaxing your hips just that little bit more. And maybe noticing that the body relaxes at different times and in different places. For me at the moment, I'm noticing, for example, that the right hip has relaxed a little bit more than the left. And what I need to do with this is to just watch it and say, okay, that's what it is today, good. So there is no feeling of, oh, I should get the left knee closer to the mat, otherwise I'm not doing this properly. It's not about that. It's about allowing everything to be exactly as it is and nothing more. So we can take a deep breath and a long exhale, and feel how the chin sinks even closer into your chin, into the chest rather, and the back rounds just that little bit more. We sit just that little bit more into the pelvis, and we give more and more responsibility to the earth beneath us for the relaxation. Gravity. So most of the time, the breathing we leave to be exactly as it is. And this extra deep breath is something we just do occasionally, and only really in the beginning when we're doing Yin Yoga. It just helps us to understand that how the body actually physically relaxes with each exhale. So we'll do this one more time together. We take a deep breath in, fill the body, and then a long exhale, and feel as you exhale how the body sinks down just that little bit deeper into the position without actually having to do anything more than we were before. Relaxing your shoulders, arms heavy. Maybe you feel at some point that we have to just release the elbows forward down to the mat. Relaxing the neck just a little bit more maybe. Then gently release the position. So we can place the hands on the floor in front of you and gently just use the arms to come up out of the position. So what I'd like to describe to you is really what's happening. Apart from the breath, which I've already talked about, the body will naturally relax if we allow the body to breathe and we don't try and fight against any other positions. But basically when we're doing this kind of position, what we're working on is really the soft tissue between the bones in the spine. So it's not really magic what we're doing. It's really just allowing the body to relax, maybe in a way that you're not used to. In fact, all yoga positions are simply a combination of which muscles to use and which muscles to relax. And in Yin Yoga, we actually take the time to watch this in depth. That is what's important. Good. So we're now going to come back to the knees at the back of the mat. And I'd like you to find something that you can place your hands on. In this particular case, a couple of blocks I have here. We have, of course, in the room. You can use books. It's not really... The only thing that's important is the fact that they're not going to fall over, basically. So we can use books or whatever is handy for you. Maybe some cushions even. So we make sure that we're together in the center of the mat with the knees together, and then we come up with the body, and we're just going to bring the hands onto this support. And with the block, it doesn't matter whether it's lying in this position or whether it's on this position. It's just that you can lean onto the hands without them feeling like they're going to fall over. And then we're going to lift now the right foot between the blocks or between your books or whatever you're using. And what I'd like you to look at is that the front of the big toe and the front of the blocks or the books or whatever you're using, as I've said before, is in a straight line. Then we're going to sink down into the left hip. So what I'd like you to think about here is that we make sure that we can still see the right big toe in front of the knee. So we're now in a position where the foot's like this, okay? So I'll just move the block out so you can see. So not the heel up and not the knee past the toe, but the toe is in a straight line with the front of the block. Then I sink into the left hip, and I'm looking down and I can still see my right toe. So you're going to feel the stretch on the front of the left hip here. And we can use the arms from the wrist to the shoulders. So we keep the elbow straight and we use this, and we're going to sink into this position. So again, we're not trying to lift the body up here. We're trying to sink into the position. So let the head sink down between your shoulders. Maybe you're feeling a little bit of stretch in the front side of the left hip. Judging by the expression on Julia's face here, I'm suspicious that she's probably feeling that. And maybe you are too. She has a beautiful smile on her face now, so we have to have humor with what we're doing. If you take yoga too seriously, you end up being very serious about everything. And that's not really what life's about. Life's about just having fun and feeling happy and content. One of the things that I really appreciate about Yin Yoga is the fact that I'm basically just doing nothing at all, but a lot is happening. And that's a really nice feeling, that I don't have to stretch or strain or push myself beyond points that I don't feel comfortable with. Some of you might be feeling that this is a little uncomfortable, so I would like to encourage you, if you like, you can move back and just release that stretch just for a few seconds. It doesn't really matter, and there aren't any yoga police that are going to come around and saying, you're doing this wrong. It's just to do exactly what you can do, and then we can sink back into the position. And just as when I was practicing on my own, you can have a little smile on your face. I just said, nobody saw me cheating. Ha ha ha. So you will find, most of you, that my teaching is not built on being really serious about everything. It's about just being yourself. And most of us really enjoy being happy and just having some fun, and we can do that with the body too. So that's the 3 minutes up. So we're going to release the position and come back to the knees. Leave the blocks exactly where they are. You can bring the hands to the knees. Again, we can cushion under or between the legs or both. Bolster between the legs. Just find a position where you can sit comfortably, and I'd encourage you now to just close the eyes. I want you to be extremely conscious of how the left hip feels. Does it feel the same as the right hip, or has something changed? In my classes, I'm not going to go into any massive anatomical detail about what's actually happening. It's really only important what you feel. And if you feel there's a slight change that's happened in the hip, then you'll be able to open your eyes and know why we're now going to the opposite side. So we come forward again with the hands on the block or the books or whatever else you're using, and this time, of course, we're going to take the left foot forward between the blocks. Front of the toe in a straight line, as I said before, and we're resting onto the block with the hands. If you need to move it forward and the foot forward just a little bit, please do so. This position will be unique to you. Everybody's body parts are longer or shorter than everybody else's, and basically your whole body is unique. So each of these positions will be unique. So the guideline is just basically front of the toe, front of what you're leaning on. And then of course we sink into the right hip. We make sure that we can still see the front of the left toe, and we just allow this support from the arms. Head's basically just sitting on the top. And we use the breath. So as I said, this position, you can feel quite a lot in the front now of the right hip here. So of course, you can come out of the position just for a few seconds if you want to, and then just return to the position when you feel like it. I also experienced a lot of questions when I started practicing, especially Yin Yoga. It's like when you're doing these kind of positions in the beginning, and it's sort of not, let's say, not 100% comfortable, you sort of wonder, well, how the heck can somebody do this for 5 minutes? It must be torture. But this is only the ego talking. So the only thing that we're going to be torturing is ourselves if we decide to actually do that. If we decide not to do that, then we can just come out of the position just a little bit, maybe stretch, move yourself a little bit, then come forward and come down, again into the position. If we do this regularly, what's going to happen is that you'll easily get to 5 minutes without even thinking about it. But if you start to try and do 5 minutes and excruciating pain, then all you're going to experience is the discomfort. And I encourage you to think about everything else that's going on around you. Maybe the sounds inside the room, or your breath, maybe your friend just beside you, basically moving in and out of the position as I instructed them to do, and seeing the humor in it. Because eventually you will be able to sit in this position quite comfortably. You probably have to be able to release the hands from the block and read a book at the same time, basically. You're just sitting into the position. So there's no hurry for this. It's just to do the position. 15 more seconds. course, we release. Gently coming back, you relieve the blocks where they are. You come back sitting on the cushion or on the heels and placing the hands again on the knees. Closing the eyes and now feeling the right hip. Is it now closer to how the left hip was feeling just a few minutes ago? In fact, the whole of the pelvis is going to feel different. Maybe you're sitting even just that little bit deeper onto the cushion or the feet. I'd like you to be encouraged by the fact that it's just a little bit different way of thinking or being. We're so used to thinking about things and doing things that it's very difficult for the mind to accept the fact that we're going to do so much by doing absolutely nothing at all. We're just watching. That's all we're doing. And then we gently open the eyes. Good. So, as I said, I like to teach with some humor. Okay, so it's a little bit about basically what your mind can create. You notice maybe in the beginning that your mind, you were able to expand the space, even if it was just a little bit, to make the thoughts a little less important. And this ability for the mind to focus on something and actually change it is actually really good and effective for us. The thing is, when we're doing these positions, it's very easy to come into old habits. And when I'm talking about old habits, I'm talking, for example, about feeling discomfort in a position. Like I said, encourage yourself to think about everything else. Everything else in the body that's actually soft and comfortable. The sounds in the room, the floor, the support, the air, the sky above you. It sounds a bit strange, but basically you're just making the discomfort a little bit less important. And generally when the mind forgets that, it starts to not focus on it. It's a little bit like if I say, please don't think about a pink elephant bouncing across the floor. What are you actually thinking right now? You're thinking pink elephant jumping across the floor, but pink elephants don't exist, but still your mind creates it. So this is a very good example of why I'm encouraging you to think about everything else except for the discomfort, because if you're experiencing discomfort and only focusing on that, it will be like the pink elephant. So, good. All right, so we're going to continue with the practice which we did in the last lesson. This is called pigeon position. And here again, we can have a bunch of cushions and pillows and that sort of thing if you actually need them. So we're going to go into the position first. Make sure we're at the back of the mat to start. And we're going to come forward with the hands under the shoulders. And here we're going to move the right knee to the right side of the mat and bring the knee to the back of the wrist. So you can see here the outside of my knee and the knee is against the wrist. I'm supporting on the arms here and I'm just gently going to push back into this position, moving the left foot back. We're pointing the toe at the back there and just feeling that we can sit into the right hip here. We come down to both elbows. And here it's important that we always check that the knee is feeling okay and the hip is feeling okay. If it is, then we can come all the way down to the mat. If it's not, we can take any amount of cushions and just support here so that we can relax. That is the key to this particular position, being able to relax. All right. So coming to your position. And that might be that your elbows come down, and you move the elbows forward, and you come all the way down, and you have the forehead and nose on the mat, and you have the front of the thigh and the hip and everything else in place. And breathing. If you wish to, taking a deep breath in and a long exhale out, and just feeling again how the body sinks deeper into the position, down onto the cushion. Maybe you lift the head, relax the neck just a little bit more, the shoulders relaxed, elbows. And as you lift the elbows away from the floor, just make sure we're not supporting the upper body with the upper arms, for example. And now we're going to continue into a stretch, again for the front side of the left hip and also the front of the thigh. So the muscle from the hip to the knee. So you come up onto the left elbow, under your left shoulder, and we want to have the support from the elbow to the shoulder. We check at the moment that the lower arm is 45 degrees. In this particular case, left arm is pointing out 45 degrees out to the right, and the right leg is 45 degrees out to the left. So these should be parallel with each other. Once you have this support, we're going to open both shoulders. And then lift your left foot and bringing the toes into your wrist. Now, some of you might well be feeling a stretch here. If you are and you can't reach your foot like this, it's just a smile and don't take it too seriously. Okay? So again, if you get cramp, you can always release the foot back to the floor, then come back into the position. Remember, I'm going to say it 1,000 times, it is important that you stay relaxed and that you simply enjoy every position. Then we can bend the elbow and we bring the foot into the buttock. And I can promise you that when the foot actually comes to the buttock at some point, there will come a little smile to your face. We then release the foot back and we come back to the elbows. So each time we do this, we're just going to move a little bit deeper into the position. So curl the toe up. I don't know whether you can see that, I hope you can. The toe up on the left foot. And then we're going to move the body back a little bit deeper. I'm going to show you afterwards why we do this. And then again, we come down onto the bent leg or onto your cushion, if you're resting on a cushion, and come down and just relax. Make sure that you stay in the center of the mat. Try not to fall off to the right or the left. And just again, lift the elbows just that little bit. Make sure you're not supporting. Just relax. Use your breath. Good. So as I said, we're not going to stay in the position too long today, so we come out of the position. You can use the hands and just come back. Sit on the knees. And again, I'm going to encourage you to close your eyes, press the hands on top of the knees, relax the shoulders, settle into the body, and then becoming aware of the right hip. Not this time the front of the hip, but the side of the hip. The right side of the hip. Do we feel that it is a little bit different from the left? Then in fact, if you wanted to, you could actually fall out to the right with the right hip. But somehow the left, it doesn't want to. The right, gentle, more space. The left, maybe not so much. We gently open the eyes. And just with the dragon position, which we practiced earlier, of course we change sides so that we work with the left side as well. So coming forward with the hands again under the shoulders. You can always check here, basically straight line from the wrist to the shoulder. So we've got nice support. And this time we're going to bring the left knee forward to the side of the mat and behind the left wrist. So you can see that the knee is actually against my wrist here. The lower part of the leg is pointing now 45 degrees out to the right. And then I'm just gently going to come back into the position. So what we're doing here is to try and bring as much of the thigh and possibly the front of the hip into contact with the mat. And in the beginning, it can look a little bit like this, but that's okay because we're just doing a little bit at a time. So we come down into the position. We have the cushion as well, if you need it. Come down to the elbows. Double check that the left knee is now feeling okay and the left hip. And if they are, you can come all the way down onto the bent leg and bring the forehead and nose to the mat. If you're on the cushion, the head's just going to be hanging in the air. You can allow the chin to come in towards your chest. That will encourage your upper back to relax just that little bit more. So for me here, very quickly, I'm feeling that as my upper body and my chest relax just that little bit more, I then have to lift the head, lengthen the spine or the neck, and then just replace the head onto the mat. And this is just a simple awareness of how things change when we're practicing in this way. Good. Now, we're going to come into the stretch for the front side of the right hip and the right thigh muscle. So again, the muscle from the hip all the way to the knee. And we're going to come up onto the right elbow, under the right shoulder, parallel with the bent leg. We take time to check. We then open both shoulders and look back now to the right foot. We lift the foot, bringing the toes into the wrist if possible. Try not to hold the side of the feet here or the ankle, so this makes it very difficult to actually move the foot in. If you're looking at me right now, if I have this position, then I can just bend the elbow, and this naturally just brings the foot directly straight into the buttock, or maybe just a couple of millimeters closer to the buttock. But anyway, we do what is comfortable to do right now, and then we bring the foot into the buttock by bending the elbow. We release the foot back. We come back to the elbows. We curl the toe up on the right now, move the body back, straighten the foot, and again we come down onto the bent leg. Now, in the beginning, often the foot is on the front of your hip, and this is generally not very comfortable. What I will say is that as we do this position, and we get deeper and deeper into the position, your foot and the lower leg are going to come more and more into the stomach, which is the soft part of the body compared with the hip. So we're aware of the eventual stretch which we have now on the left side. This is extremely good for the hips and the lower back and the pelvis. And again, hopefully We're going to feel this when we come out of the position, which is now. So coming back to the knees in a comfortable way. You sit on the feet or the cushions. We bring the hands back to the knees. Basically, this position is called hero position. Those of you who wish to know. Arms are heavy, shoulders relaxed, close the eyes. And I'm sure most of you are already feeling, yes, the left side is definitely softer and there's more space there. So just play with this a little bit. You can feel you can drop out to the left, you can drop out to the right. Maybe it's just that little bit more movement or possibility of movement than it was before. And then we gently open the eyes. So I hope you're feeling this in the hips. For those of you that go skiing, this is fantastic, all right? It's really, really helpful to have this softness in the hips when you're going down the slopes, you know, whoosh, 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 whoosh. It's really nice, I promise you, all right? So next time you're down in, on your skis, you can think about what I was just saying. Now, if you remember, I said I'm going to demonstrate something to you. So you notice that we went just that little bit deeper into the position after we'd already done the position. This is just a progression. As we do this, then you will simply just get deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm going to say the same thing to you that my first teacher in yoga said to me. Yoga is individual to you, and basically what anybody else can do in the room or out in the room or in a book or whatever, it has nothing to do with you. You're looking to improve at maybe 1 millimeter a week. And how much is that after a year? And as somebody who was incredibly physically handicapped when I started doing yoga, this gave me hope, all right? So I'm going to cut down a lot of years of work and show you this position. Now eventually, of course, as I said, right now we're just bringing the knee forward, is 45 degrees to the mat, but eventually we're going to have it 90 degrees to the mat, and we'll still be able to push back into the position, and we'll still be able to lie down onto the bent leg. Why I don't encourage this in the beginning is that generally it's pretty uncomfortable. So some of you might be able to do this directly, and that's wonderful, and some of you might need to take a little bit of time. For example, for me, this took about 17 years before I could do this, and then definitely before I could do this. All right. So these sort of positions lead to a lot of other positions, and basically everything in yoga is one step towards something else. So I don't want you to think about positions that we're practicing as a goal. You're not trying to get to a certain goal, because every time you do, the goal isn't there anymore, it's somewhere else. So that's a kind of pointless thing to think about. You're not trying to achieve anything more than in this precise moment in time. That's all you have to think about. And this really is a gift that you can give to yourself. All right, this is why I call it the present moment. It's something you can give to yourself every single day. And the more you do this, the more you start to appreciate every second of your life. And this thought of every second of your life is a second you're not going to have again, and asking yourself the question, how many of them do I want to miss? Do I want to be going to work and thinking about going on holiday in 6 months' time, or would I actually enjoy just being in the moment? I'll leave you with that thought as we come to the next position. All right, so I'd like you to lie on the back. Just gently coming down to the mat. It doesn't matter how you do it, just make sure that it's as lazy as possible. Down to the elbow. Don't use your stomach muscles, lie down. And then we just come onto the mat. I'm just going to check the time. Right, we do have enough time, that's good. All right, so this is the last position. So again, I'd like to encourage you to take a long cushion If you don't have one of these, you can basically buy them almost anywhere these days. And for those of you that are in Sweden, you can buy these at Ruster, I think it is. And they're not very expensive, so it doesn't really matter. As long as it's sort of something you can just rest your knees onto. It doesn't have to be anything particular. So we're going to put cushions, or the long cushion like this one, on the left side of your body. The top of the cushions just sort of parallel with the top of your hip on the left side. All right. We're now going to place the right foot on the outside of the left knee. Then we're going to come up onto the left hip and the left shoulder. What will happen here is that the right knee will come down to the cushion. So let me just roll over here. You might also like to have a cushion for behind the head. Make sure that you're as comfortable as possible. You come all the way down so that the right knee comes onto the cushion beside you, or the pile of cushions. We'd use whatever we can get our hands onto. Then we're going to place the left hand onto the right knee. We're not going to push the knee down to the floor with this hand. It's just resting on the knee. And this we do to just double check that we're not pushing with this hand. The elbow is on the floor, shoulders on the floor. Now, I want you now to bend your left knee. And we take the foot, which you can see here as I've just lifted the foot up away from the floor, right hand onto the side of the foot here. And we allow that foot to come down to the floor, or as close as possible. And we have this position which is called cat's tail. And we're just going to be looking at the top of the room here. Knees resting on the cushion, hand resting on the knee, and the foot is resting on the floor behind the back. So really, the only thing that's working here are the fingers of the right hand as they just hold the foot. And I want you to even make that as relaxed as possible. Just enough so that the foot doesn't escape from the fingers, but not gripping it like a bar of soap that you're trying to keep in your hand. Now I'm giving away my age, of course. Most of us still have the pumping soap. When I was young, we had bars of soap and they were extremely slippery. If you don't believe me, they still sell them, so you can get a bar of soap, make it wet, and try and grip it with your hand, and then you'll understand what I mean. So we turn the head just that little bit more, if you wish to, so we're looking to the right, although in the beginning, it can be more comfortable to look to the left, so we just rest. If you look, I'm looking just out, straight out from my left shoulder. And then once the knee is on the cushion and the foot is on the floor, then I can basically turn the head and look in the opposite direction. So here we can feel the rotation through the whole of the spine. We can feel this gentle stretch inside the hip, front side of the hip on the left leg. And the inside of the hip on the right. Interesting process, and something just aside from the yoga right now. As soon as we cross things in the body, the brain gets very confused as to what is right and what is left. And that as a teacher can be quite challenging sometimes. So I apologize if occasionally I get it wrong, but I do. So you can just chuckle to yourself at home there, or even in the room. So we're now going to release, of course, the left foot from the right hand and straighten the leg. We then come back to the center of the mat. We just roll back to the center of the mat in a way that feels most comfortable. and today we're going to directly change sides. So we take the long cushion or bunch of cushions and we take them over to the right side of the mat, just on the outside of the mat. Again, top of the cushions, just level with the top of the hip. And now we're going to place the left foot on the outside of the right knee and come up now onto the right shoulder and the right hip. Again, we can have this cushion under the head just so we can rest. And now the right hand rests on top of the knee on the left side. And then we're going to bend the right knee. And again, we're just going to take the foot behind the back and, if possible, to the floor. It doesn't really matter at the moment if the foot is up in the air like this. So I just repeat it once more for today. When I started doing yoga, I was so physically handicapped I couldn't even put my socks on myself. I couldn't put my trousers on myself. And in fact, when my very good friend recommended to me that I should actually start to practice yoga, I almost punched him because I was so depressed at that age and not being able to physically move the way I wanted to. I felt like a prisoner in my own body. And I basically said to him, look, you need to be nice because I can't even put my socks on, so how do I get my foot behind my head? You have to be joking, right? He just kept going on about this yoga until I eventually followed with him to a yoga lesson. And I'll be honest with you, I had no intention of doing yoga whatsoever at that point. I was really, really annoyed with him. And the only reason I went to the lesson in the first place was to just show him that I can't do yoga because I'm too stiff. And today, I'm a yoga teacher. So there's some kind of joke there somewhere. I'm not sure what it is, but basically, as I said earlier today, if you can just imagine that anything is possible, then it is. And just waking up every morning, as I have no embarrassment in telling you that I'm 63 years old right now, and I'm looking forward to my 64th year. And one of the reasons is that as a 63-year-old man or human being, I'm actually physically and emotionally and spiritually more flexible and more aware and more alive than I was when I was 21. I'm not sure there's that many people in the world that can say that. And if I can share that with you, then my life and everything I've been through has a deeper meaning. With that said, release now the right foot from your left hand and straighten the leg. We come back to the center of the mat. And I'd like here to encourage you to bring the lower back first to the mat. So make sure that the lower back is on the mat. And then here we can either leave the cushion under the head or taking it away. We then slide the left heel out to the left corner of the mat and then the right, and all the time keeping the lower back in contact with the mat. Allow the feet to fall out to the sides. Take away maybe the cushion from beside you or just move it out of the way. And bring your arms 45 degrees out from your body with the palms up towards the top of the room. Allow the feet to fall out, the hips to relax. Just enjoy that feeling that somehow something's changed in the hips and the lower back and the pelvis, and it doesn't really matter why, it just has, and that's really nice. And remember, we've done that by basically just relaxing and not really doing very much. This position, of course, is Savasana. And if you have any discomfort left in the lower back, you can place a cushion under your knees. You can maybe put a blanket over the body just to keep the warmth that you have. And we're going to take a relaxation together. So if you're now sitting up, because I sat up I didn't say Jonathan says sit up, so make sure you're still lying down on the floor. And we're going to take a nice relaxation together. Just a few minutes. We're not going on any guided journey today with the meditation. It is more like a body scan than anything else. So first I'd like you to focus on your body. The body. Feel the body lying on the floor now. Each point of contact from the back of your heels and through the entire body to the back of your head. Not the body and not the floor, but just focusing on each point of contact between your body and the floor. Notice that the whole body is not lying on the floor. There is also space between the body and the floor. Maybe behind the knees or the lower back. Maybe the wrists. Maybe your fingers aren't on the floor. Your toes are definitely up in the air. Just be aware of exactly how the body is at this particular moment in time. Being held up by the sky above you or the space, and being gently supported by the earth beneath you. These two forces are always there, in perfect balance, and you are between these two worlds. Relaxing first the toes and the feet, the ankles, the lower legs and the knees, the upper legs and the hips, the pelvis, the buttocks, your stomach and chest, the lower back, the upper back, and the whole backbone from the back of your head to the root of your spine. Relaxing now the fingers and thumbs and the hands. Relaxing your wrists, lower arms and elbows. The upper arms and the shoulders. With each breath, allowing the body to become heavier and heavier and heavier. Relaxing the neck, the head, relaxing your face, the internal organs, the kidneys, the intestine, liver and spleen, Relaxing your heart, resting gently in the chest. Relaxing the lungs. And the right side of your brain. Allowing space to grow in the right side of the brain. Allowing the left side of the brain to relax and find space. And then the center of your brain. If you watch carefully, you'll notice that this point in the center of your brain is almost breathing with you, expanding and contracting. Almost massaging the brain into relaxation. Relaxing the eyes and the tiny muscles around the eyes, your ears, your lips, the tip of your nose, the back of your head, and the top of your head. Expanding your consciousness outside the body now. Almost as if you're standing, looking at yourself lying on the floor. And seeing that your body is completely still, but full of life. Gently allowing yourself to drift deeper and deeper and deeper into a conscious state of mind, body, and returning to your soul. Simply watching. Then, when you are ready, slowly, gently, and as beautifully as possible, please come to a sitting position. so that we may finish together. We're going to bring the hands in front of the heart and just to gently rest the thumbs against the chest. Today, as we finish, I'd like you to thank yourself for spending time with yourself. We take a deep breath together. We exhale forward. We inhale, coming back up. And exhaling the hands gently to the knees. Namaste. Thank you so much for being here. There's several different countries of the world joining us each time, and we hope that it will expand beyond our wildest imagination. Have a beautiful evening and sleep well.